Hello. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We have Jennifer White here. She is a experienced Spanish educator, passionate about integrating Afro-Latino culture into language learning. She's the founder of Afro-Latino Teacher and enjoys teaching through creative and inclusive approaches.
Thank you, David. That's so awesome. And that's David from Voces, and he's sometimes my assistant in my classroom because I gotta fix all the bugs and I don't know how to fix them. So I sent them to him. So thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Voces, for having me here today. I'm really excited to be presenting about something I'm really, really passionate about. So we're talking about the forgotten voices, about Afro-Latinos in South America, which I'm probably going to talk about the whole South America because I don't want to leave anybody else behind. So welcome everybody. I'm still navigating this thing around. I gotta move the little cursor with the pictures on it. I gotta move them up and down so I can read, because I can read appropriately. Anyway, so as you know, my name is Jennifer White. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo to be exact, the capital city. If you've been there, then that's cool. If you haven't been there, you should take a trip. There's very cheap. And don't listen to those bad news about Dominican Republic. Every country has its issues, with tourism and kidnapping. We all have it, even the best of us. So anyway, I'm so excited to be here. I just love to travel. I teach pre-K, K, first grade, eighth grade, and then 9th through 12th. So I work at right now at an independent school where I'm able to wear all those hats. So with that, I've been able to test all of my stuff through the different levels. So if you guys have any questions, if you teach elementary, if you teach middle or high school, if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about, just let me know because right now I'm catering it more towards high school. But if you say, hey, can we do this in elementary school? Then I could tell you yes or no, I haven't done it or something like that. So at least I can be a resource for you. So I've been teaching about Afro-Latinos since way before COVID, way before George Floyd, and when people of the African diaspora started being elevated. It was before then when it wasn't very popular, when I used to complain at every conference, why don't we have this? And I used to be like the only one, but now it's not so. Now it's everybody has jumped in, and I haven't been the only one. So I'm not the pioneer, it's been others. Afro-Franco, Afro-German have been also trying to pioneer this. So our question today is why South America? And probably you're here today because you're like, yeah, I need to know more about South America because every time we talk about Afro-Latinos, we think about Cubans, Dominicans, and Puerto Ricans, the Caribbean part of it. The baseball players, when we see baseball players and we see them that the majority, you see black, you said, oh yeah, that's a Cuban or that's a Dominican. And people have that misconception. Actually, some Latin Americans have a misconception that all black Latinos are Dominican. I don't know if it's still that way, but in a lot of places, I live in Alabama, so there's no such thing as a black Latino that's from somewhere else. So my husband's from Panama, and when he is seen in public and they hear him speaking Spanish, they don't assume, oh, he's Panameño. No, they'll be like, ooh, that's an educated black man. I know you guys heard stuff like that. I know it's a shame, but that's why we need to educate people on the lovely colors of the world, not just the Latin America, but the world. So we want to shine a light on this. I want to give you some insight on these topics of South America, give you some history, how to teach the history, how to teach about racism, colorism if you need to. We could talk about colorism and just give you some resources. So I have a page full of resources I'm going to give you at the end with everything that I have. So everything you see on the screens, it's and more is going to be on a sheet with all the free resources that you could just use them in your class or however you want. So thank you for coming. You get free resources. Isn't that cool? Oh, I love free. I just love free. Don't you love free? I love free too. Hey, Marsha! ¿Cómo está, mamá? Good to see you. Your little beautiful face. Anyway, I only see a few faces, so when I see your face, I'm gonna call you out. Okay, so before we begin, When you're talking about Afro anything, you have to talk about the slave trade. You got to talk about racism, and you got to address personal biases. So probably all of you guys probably don't have issues with personal biases, but just in case you do, then make sure that those are kind of things that we need to address. Make sure that if you yourself do some self-reflection and think about any kind of group that you have issues with, okay? Or any kind of groups that you probably jump the gun and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were Mexican. I thought you were," those kind of uncomfortable times. Instead of being general and say, "Where are you from? Where are your parents from?" and things like that. Instead of assuming, we had an international fair at my school yesterday. My school is a predominantly white school. So when you do an international fair in a setting like that, you need to be very careful and very sensitive to the cultures there. So if I have Israel representing and then I have Palestine representing, I cannot have them next to each other. I'm going to make sure they're on opposite ends. And some people might think, no, we're united. We're just a melting pot. We should just be all mixed up. And no, 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 that melting pot thing has to go out the door, because sometimes you need to give individuality to that soup. If I'm gonna drink some soup, I want to see that that's a potato in there, and that's a corn, and you don't put it all together and it looks like un asopao, like we say in Dominican Republic, la sopao. You can't tell what it is. So we don't want to be an asopao. We want to be un sancocho, where we can see the different individual parts of the soup, and they all have their own flavor, but at the same time we season it the same way, but they all taste different, and they're such good comfort food, right? So I know you understand what I'm saying. If you like food, then you understand what I'm saying. So this is what we need to do when we're doing events, or when we're doing talking about our students about certain topics. We need to be able to bring up the elephant in the room. Now, I don't know if you guys teach predominantly Black students, or or mixed, or what. So whatever it is, you have your own challenges. And this presentation is not for, I can't talk about every challenge, but I could tell you from my experience, and bring that in a little bit. I know that when it comes to racism, in my school, it's been kind of hard to bring that up, because when you have kids that are not from the same race as you, then you're kind of like, how do I talk about this? And I remember that in the beginning, I had to say, just from me, just talk about me, like, hey, I'm from Dominican Republic, and I consider myself Black. And a lot of Dominicans don't consider themselves Black. They consider themselves just Dominican. But since I'm in the United States, then people don't see me as a Dominican. In fact, I'm here walking around in Alabama, Anniston, Alabama, where there's the heart of the civil rights movement. No one's gonna say like, hey, Dominicana, hey, that's a Dominican walking up. No, they're not gonna do that. They're not. They're gonna say, oh, that's a Black girl. She just wears a lot of flats and her hair looks different every day because she's like that, so it's gonna be a little bit different. So that's why I have to always say, we got to be careful how we judge and address those personal biases. So how do I bring this up to my students? That's what I do. And I remember going back to George Floyd, I remember that I had to announce to my students, this incident happened in our country and we can't ignore it. This actually happened. And some of us, and I say us, I don't say, like, sometimes I don't target me, but I said some of us are afraid about what happens when our loved one who's a Black male, gets stopped. My husband has to talk to my sons about, well, not my sons, only one of my sons looks Black. The other ones look white. So they're mixed. So we adopted them. So they are Afro-Latinos, but they look white. So they don't have any kind of struggles with color. They don't. But then my son, Elijah, he has to be given the talk about getting stopped. And then Elijah, he took it upon himself to drive an Uber. And then when he's on his break, he ends up inviting cops to join him to play video games in his car, and they project the video game. And I'm like, Elijah, why are you doing that? He's like, Mom, they won't stop me. They'll never shoot me if I become friends with them. And I'm like, oh, that's sad that you have to become friends because of your because you're afraid. But it started off like that, and now he just befriends every cop. That's how it is. It's just the way it is. But this is a struggle that we can't explain to children sometimes. They have to live it, and this is why I end up telling them those experiences. And I even told them, if you have any questions about racism or color, please come to me. And before I have this conversation, I make sure I talk to the counselor, tell the counselor you're having this conversation so you don't get fired or something. I don't know, your school districts are probably different, but I told the counselor that I was going to have this talk. And when I did, what? I'm sorry? Uh-oh. Does someone have a question? No? You're okay, David? Okay, cool. No, sorry,
If you
David.
have a question, go ahead and unmute. I think we just had somebody with a microphone.
Yeah, if someone has a question, please, you can interrupt me. It's fine. I don't get my feelings hurt for that. You're fine. You're going to be just like a student that interrupts me every 5 seconds when I'm teaching, which is fine, right? Right, Marsha? That happens to you too. Right, Terry? So you guys understand. These are teachers. You guys are my favorite people in the whole world, So I had one student actually come up to me and say, okay, Senor White, so you said I could ask you anything, right? Yeah, I won't get offended. I could ask you anything. Then he says, well, why do they matter? Why do Black lives matter? And I was like, whoa, this is $1 million question. I had to say a quick prayer first, make sure I had wisdom enough to answer this question. But this is when I was able to explain to my student that, in other words, like, he will never understand, because I could never be in the shoes of a white woman. I could never be in the shoes of his mother or his aunt or his grandmother. And I asked him these questions: can I ever be in the shoes of your grandparents or your mother or anyone? And he says, no. I said, well, what if George Floyd was your uncle? And he was like, I said, I need you to think about that, because he was like, oh, he had drugs. And, you guys know the story. But I'm just trying to tell you how he had to think. Um, if he was my uncle, yeah, would you be this upset? Would you be saying that his life doesn't matter? And he's like, and then I said, what if he was your dad? And that's when it hit home. He was like, oh, no, it doesn't matter if you had drugs. You shouldn't have been treated like that. Okay, well, that's what it is. So when we talk to our kids about these difficult topics, we have to always put them in the story. We got to put them in there and put them as is them, because sometimes they can feel other people's feelings, sometimes they can't. But this one, thank God, I was lucky with I was able to explain to him that, and he turned the other, he turned the other way. Is that he's been hearing all this talk, and I could tell where the talk is coming from, but I was able to let him understand. So that was cool. So I'm going to keep on going now. Now that I told you the race talk, we're going to keep going. All right. So, um, so when talking about the arrival of enslaved Africans to the different countries, sometimes it's really hard for you to think, how did they get there? How did they get there? Why do we need to talk about this? I remember there was one year that I had students saying, why are we celebrating Black history again? Why? Why can't we celebrate white history? And in my town, in I'm in Alabama, like I said, in the highway, you guys, I gotta take a picture, but in the highway, there's a rebel flag that says White History Month in July. And that's the reality of where I live, is that there's an actual White History Month. So my kids are like, well, you don't celebrate White history. I said, nobody, because we celebrate it every day. It's just a celebration all day long, every day. So if you could just understand, can you please give us a little month, the little short one? It's just a short month. Just let us have it. Just let us have it, okay? Now, sometimes I could be like very colloquial and very, as a matter of fact, to my kids, because they're teenagers and they better receive it. Because what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say about when are we going to celebrate white history? How would you answer that? Like, that's a loaded question. So you need to be very careful when kids, I don't know if you've ever had that, but every year I've had a kid say, when do we celebrate white history? I said, it's in July, but really, buddy, it's every day. Every day we celebrate. So I try to make it positive so that it's not sarcastic, but I try to make it positive so that they understand that this is the reality. So this is us talking about the enslaved ships and coming into the different ports. I try to talk about how these ports are very important. They're very important because this is where Africans arrived. And I try to start it off with the vocabulary, just like Voces does it. Voces does the pre-teach the vocabulary. So we do the vocabulary, not so much. That's what I like about Voces, like they don't give you like this long list. So just short list of vocabulary where you're gonna introduce these little words like puertos, ciudades, cities, llegaron, arrived, and they should probably would know these vocabulary words if they're advanced enough, okay? And sometimes we try to describe certain things with the TPR and acting out the words. We got to be careful with this too because sometimes they could be offensive in how they portray certain things. So we have to give them we have to do it, or we could draw pictures. So just like in Voces, how they have us drawing pictures, do they make us draw pictures in Voces, or that's just me doing the pictures? Maybe that's just me. I don't remember. Voces, we do. Okay, I got it from them. That is so cool. That's my kid's favorite thing is me drawing horribly on the board, trying to explain things. And I'll show you later that I had to stop drawing horribly because when I went to another teacher conference and I was drawing horribly on the board, they said, Jennifer, all your drawings look like a sexual tool. I'm like, no, what? That's why your kids are making fun of you. Everything you draw is a body part. I'm like, no. Okay, I'm ending this now. No more body part drawing. I'm gonna find another way. Thank you, Vo says you should have warned me. It's okay. You guys didn't know that I'm such a horrible drawer. All right. So another thing that I like to do is when introducing the vocabulary is I do this activity where the kids, I tell them, okay, clase, everybody, and I'm saying it in Spanish and I'm doing a lot of gestures. Everybody go under your desk. Just go under your desk and make sure that there's no feet sticking out. Make sure no hands or no feet are sticking out. They're complaining. What? Oh, I have a dress on, or I have this. If they have a dress, I can't make them do it. But if they have pants on, go under there. If they have back problems, you can't have them do it either. But anyway, so you tell them to go under the desk. If they go under the desk, it's a very small space. I said, okay, guys, I'm gonna put the timer. We're gonna do it for 5 minutos, 5 minutes. So I put 5 minutes and I play some music and they start complaining. They just complain. Oh my gosh, when are we gonna get out of here? I can't stand this. Hey, can I go to the bathroom? No, you can't go to the bathroom. Oh, it's just my back and my just stay right there. And then when it stops, that's when the timer stops. I said, hey guys, that's just 5 minutes. But when these enslaved people were on the slave ship, they weren't there for 5 minutes. They had to be scrunched up like that. And you're not even bonded with chains. I could easily let you use the bathroom, but what if you needed to use the bathroom and you couldn't? You had to do it right there. How about the ladies when they had their time of the month? They had to do it right there. I mean, nasty, just nasty conditions. This is the birth of music and the creativity that these wonderful people bring to us. That's the birthplace of it right there in that struggle of you being under that desk and you want to get out. So this is I like to be very dramatic. Like get under the desk. It's dark there. But this is a way of making them feel 5 minutes of being in a slave ship, and this is how I tell them the journey from Africa to South America without making them suffer too much, but for them to understand a little bit, okay, of it. So that's how I do some of the vocabulary. All right. Then, like I said, I could draw pictures, but I'm not good at it. So what I end up doing is that I start with, en el pasado, muchas personas africanas llegaron a Sudamérica. So many people of South America, they came in ships. So instead of drawing the stuff, because I'm not good at it, I will go ahead and just do it in advance and do slideshows where I get pictures from the internet. There's not something I'm going to sell or anything. It's just for my kids. So I put pictures of the actual ship there. So when I'm speaking in Spanish, I'm pointing to the ship, okay, that they came on this ship. And this ship carried 700 or more people that were enslaved in that ship. And I'm speaking in Spanish and I'm pointing to those photos. Okay, and then I would have the map, the slave trade map. And this is when I'm speaking in Spanish, I can say they went from this part of Africa to South America, or they went to the United States, and I'm pointing to the map because I'm not good at drawing. So then I tell them that they go to various ports, and these were the important ports. I'll tell them it's Montevideo in Uruguay, Buenos Aires in Argentina, and so forth. Okay. And then I would explain how they worked. They worked in the ports, they worked in those port cities. And I remember, hearing from Dr. Oh, I forgot his name. He's the one that does the roots. He does the roots doctor. He was from Harvard. Can't remember his name right now. If someone
Henry Louis
Henry
Gates.
Louis Gates.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Big fan. I'm a big fan of his. And in his series of Black and Latin America, you gotta watch that. You have to watch that. He talks about how they would bring the enslaved people to the ports, and they were talking about Mexico and how they had to dive. They had to dive and cut the coral so they could build that port that was there. They built it out of coral, but it was out of blood and sweat. And these divers had to be healthy. They had to feed them better so they could dive all those feet down there. They don't teach them how to swim. It's like they had to have this talent to know how to swim, know how to dive that far. Some people didn't make it. And these are the kinds of struggles that I like sharing with my students, of what kind of jobs they had. Because right now what they think about is, oh, there was a cook, and this one was, he tended the field. Yeah, those were harsh jobs too, but you need to know more about some other jobs that they were forced to do. So I like showing the maps. Let me see if anybody has any questions so far. I can't see it. I can't see the questions. Oh, there we go. All right. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Yes. Okay. Oh, David's answering everything. Thank you, David. You're so cool. All right. So I'm going to keep going. All right. So did I skip? No, I'm good. Okay. All right, so some cultural contributions, music and dance, like I said, also that struggle being under that desk, being inside that ship is also the birth of their dance, of their music. It's like through the music, they had to entertain people, but it was like their release. So here I have samba that has African roots. And the fun fact is that samba was influenced by the rhythms brought by enslaved Africans. So it was usually considered a rebellious, but eventually a symbol of Brazilian national pride. Now, when you look at samba and when you look at all these types of music genres that are out there today, they don't mention that they're African influence. They don't do that. It's very European now. And I will talk about that in a minute. But what I like to do with my students is that I like to play the Just Dance. Now, I don't have the video game Just Dance, but I go into YouTube and I'll pull up, Just Dance. I'll put samba, and then this one right here says Samba de Janeiro. So we'll play that and they follow along and they could do the moves of samba. You don't need a dance teacher in your class. You have YouTube. So you can share this. And what I do is every Wednesday we do dance day. So on dance day, I could pick whatever kind of music I want, or the kids could pick it. We can make a list and they could dance to anything. Some of them don't like to dance. So I just tell them for respect to just stand up and move their arms or something, or they could just move their arms. They could just move their head. They could just move their feet. And some of them get really into it. Also the candombe, Uruguay. It's Afro-Uruguayan identity. It's their type of music. Look at the drums that they have. Now, you could tell that in South American music is not the most popular music out there. So you can't find that in Just Dance. You can't find a follow the leader type of candombe. You just can't. And this is why I'm talking about this now, because we need to be able to show our kids how they dance, and we can mimic the way they dance and try, but there's not enough resources out there for South America, and especially not enough for the Afro South Americans. All right, so my favorite type of dance to talk about is tango, because tango seems to be very European, and everybody thinks, oh, well, tango, yeah, that came from Argentina, and Argentina is very European, but it actually came from the Afro-descendants as well. So the fun fact, tango was born in working class neighborhoods of Buenos Aires, Argentina, influenced by African, indigenous, and European musical traditions, all put together. And it was initially danced by men, but soon became popular as a partner dance. And now it's a worldwide dance. So if you guys want to try the Just Dance Tango, I have it right there, that you can see, and you could play it with your students as well. Now, students don't like dancing with a couple. This is uncomfortable for them. Sometimes they don't dance it with a couple. Sometimes I tell them just do it by yourself, act like you're dancing with somebody. My classroom is called a sloth forest, and I have like 200 sloths because people keep buying me sloths because I love sloths. So I say, hey, grab a sloth, let's dance the tango. And that works for me. So they'll grab a sloth and they'll dance the tango with the sloth. So that way we don't have to be uncomfortable, and no PDA, improper public display of affection. But tango is really cool to watch, and for them to see that is so romantic and beautiful. And it doesn't have to be. It could be anybody dancing the tango. It doesn't have to be a certain type of people dancing tango. All right. So now we get into this topic here that it's called erasure. And erasure is something that I have to talk about in my class, especially when it has to do with talking about Afro descendants. El borrado histórico or la eliminación cultural. There's a lot of that going on when we talk about the dictatorship in different countries in Latin America. There is an erasure of something, but we want to talk about how they try to erase tango. They try to erase the black people in that country. And these are some questions that I would ask my students in the target language. If you see, I have it in English, but then in Spanish, it has a lot of cognates in it so they could understand what I'm talking about. So we would have these discussions. Why would they be erased? And I like to put the scenario of students. Like sometimes students start something in a school, they'll start like a club. And then by the time they graduate and they come back to visit, that club isn't there anymore. There's no traces of that club, only in the yearbook when they were there that it was there. So I would tell them, well, if you did that, you started a club, and then you come back years later and you're like, oh, yeah, where's my club, my chess club or my culture club? Where is it? And it's no longer there. Why is it no longer there? Nobody fought for it. Nobody um did anything so that it could stay. And then especially with the tango, it just started being downplayed. That's a lot of things. That's a lot that happens in the culture, is that is downplayed. And I'm a prime example of being downplayed. So I already told you the situation I'm in, what kind of teacher I am. I'm a very animated and hyper, and this is the way I am. But I'm surrounded by people who are very laid back, and that's okay. That personality is just fine. But that means that I stick out a lot. And it means that every time I do something is over the top. And a lot of people don't like that. And you might look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, you can come to my district. We'll appreciate you." But sometimes there's things that happen that I do that is just too much. Like for instance, I did a Black History Museum. That's what we did for Black History this year. All the students, they did two projects about Afro-Latinos. In my classes, we did Afro-Latinidad. They picked the person, or they had every class had a different project relating to the Afro-descendants, right? Well, the French class did the Afro-Franco, and then everybody else did African American history. So the museum ended up being a beautiful display of student work, and it's gorgeous. And we sit around and we stand around, we love it, and we look around. But guess where my museum is at? My museum happens to be in the back of the school where no one could see it. My museum is not in the front because that's where I wanted it, because I want to display children's work. But no, that's not the most important thing in the school. That's not educational enough. So we are in the back of the museum. Okay. And I have to teach my students, which, in a way, I kind of like that I get this kind of struggle in my school, because since the students are students, majority white students, I could say, oh, yeah, sometimes we deal with these things, guys. Yeah, we deal with people trying to erase what we did, people trying to minimize what we did. And it being in the back, the white kids got to see, why are we back here? this is not right. This is not fair. Why are we back here? And how long will the museum stay up? I said, well, Black History is almost over. It's March now, and they let us keep it up, but I'm gonna have to take it down soon. Why? If this is history and this is, I'm so happy. I get goosebumps just talking about it because my school wasn't like this. My students weren't like this. They will be quick to take something down, but now they're like, this is our work. We did this. That Black History Museum must stay up. And I feel good that they love it, and they have a place in the museum where they could write notes on it, like, what did you like about this museum? They have food on there, or the history, the Black history of food, everything is on the museum. So they write down little notes of what they feel about the museum, and they say that they love it. They just love the diversity, and it decorates their hallway very nice. This is the science wing. It doesn't belong in the science wing because that's science, but that's where we ended up. So sometimes we deal with this, and when I live it in real life, I can say, look, we're dealing with erasure, because now that this Black History Month, this Black History Museum is up, means that it probably could never be up again. Probably this is the last time we have this up. So let's go ahead and, oh, Eula, you have a question? I saw that you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I totally agree and understand your feeling, your excitement, and maybe slight disappointment with some of the attitudes that we come up against. But also an equal threat is not only erasure but appropriation, taking credit for what our people have done. So we have to make sure we're educating ourselves and getting the here are the facts. Here's the history, how this began. So it's important that we do that as well.
You're right. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up, because since it's our Black History Museum, I decided to highlight the positive history of our school. See, our school was created because of integration. So there was a school, it was all white, and then integration came, and then they said, oh, we got to create another school that will be safe for our students. And that's the school where I work at. So instead of me saying, hey, this school was built on racism, I didn't do that. What I did is that I did a timeline of or we did a timeline of Black history through the years from the 1800s all the way to today. And on there is the bus burning, the Freedom Riders. This is Anniston, Alabama, is where the bus stopped. One of the buses stopped and got bombed. It's in my city. Like, I know where the landmark is, and I go over there and I just feel like really sad when I'm there, because you could hear the voices of they have a monument where you could press a button and you could hear the person saying, yeah, we got off the bus, or they were mobs and came to beat us up, and it's really very emotional. So I made sure I put our history up there. That was up there. The bus burning in Anniston, Alabama was there. The one in Montgomery was too. The boycott, all of that stuff. But then I said, let me put the timeline of our school's Black history. It started back in 2019, something like that, with our first speaker. And we pulled up all the photos of every year's Black history and how we did, all the people that came to speak, and all that stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm going away from South America, but I'm just saying, this is ways that you can get your kids involved with putting, if you're able to. I don't know if you're able to. I'm sure I can't. I could never put a Black History Museum again. And I could honestly say now, and I could probably say now, that actually I lost my job because of the Black History Museum. They gave me my notice that I could not come back next year. But that's okay though. Don't feel sorry for me, because I already got offered a job like the same day at another school that said, hey, bring your Black History Museum over here and spread it all over our hallways. And I was like, yay, that's good. Good for you. You appreciate me. So this happens, that sometimes you do something this intense and you're showing student work, and it's just not appreciated, even if it's, your students, even if it's students. So erasure, appropriation, so good that's true how they take credit. We also did part of our museum about the hair and all the inventions and the inventors, so that kids could see who invented what. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So then addressing this is saying that this is a real thing, and it's not just in our town. It's not just right here in our school. It's actually in the whole United States. It's in South America. And right here, there's a link, which I'm sharing with you guys as well. This link says, Black people and the census. Undercounted means underfunded and underrepresented. So a lot of countries in South America, they don't count the Black people in it. They're undercounted. And I remember that in 2022 or something, um, Mexico put an article saying finally we're counting the Afro Mexicans, and we're like, what now? It took you a while, but they're still in South America. We're still having that same problem, and if they don't count, then we don't know how many they are, and that's why they like to downplay and think it's not that many of them, so we don't have to really celebrate. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to cater to them. We don't have to get grants for them. This is why in your schools, you need to know the demographics of your school so that when you go get grants, you can write down this information that's very important. Well, this is what they do, is that they try not to include it. And this is important, to amplify these voices, to combat those stereotypes and promote the inclusivity. And you could get your kids involved. My kids, I've been in my school for 9 years, and I think that I changed that school, because the kids that are there now are not the same kids that were back in the day. And the generation's changing. But now it's like they want to fight. Like for that Black History Museum, they're like, this is not right. And for them to say those things before, they wouldn't have said it. Before, they would have been like, oh my gosh, you're gonna put a hair show in a white school? You're gonna have a Black hair show in a white school? That's what the kids would say. And then I also had a program of step dance, African step dance. What? You're gonna put an African American step dance in a white school? Now they're like, just bring it, Miss White, just Senora White, just bring it. We'll receive it, and it's so beautiful for kids to change. But now that I'm leaving the school, what do you think is gonna happen to that school? I mean, really, the erasure is gonna happen. It didn't never happened, or maybe it was their idea, like Terry says, appropriation. It's like they're gonna claim it. Oh yeah, we used to have Black history, or we used to celebrate cultures, now we don't. Or, oh yeah, she used to be here but she took another job, like all those kind of things that are not fair for us. But our kids need to hear about it, and they need to know. So anybody has anything to say before I continue? I'm gonna go on to the classroom activities. Just let me know. Or we're gonna stop afterwards and we're gonna have a discussion, and you say anything or have any questions. So our classroom activities, we have, I love analyzing this poetry called Me Gritaron Negra. Some of you have already heard of this, with Victoria Santa Cruz. All right, so she's from Peru, and I have the link to this video too. And this theme of identity and visibility and resilience is just, I just love her power in her voice. The way she's like, yeah, I was just a little kid. I was just a little kid, and they just call me negra, like a derogatory term. And it's like, sometimes I like to reflect on the kids. When do you feel like empowered? Like, this is not fair. Why would you call me that? When do they feel that they need? The thing is about talking about racism and all this stuff, is that they need to relate somehow. I know that they can't relate. I know that they can't relate to racism. Some of them never heard of it or never seen it, and some of them have dealt with it. But for those that have never dealt with it, we got to find a line somewhere where they can kind of understand what it's like to be treated unfairly, because they've all have been treated unfairly. Everybody has. So we got to remind them of those situations. So that, like analyzing the poem, for them to read it, hear it, and then for them to write their own poem in Spanish, where they can say about something. It doesn't have to be about being Black, but it's about identity, invisibility, resilience. Because a lot of my students get bullied, or they feel invisible, like no one sees them. I just I just spoke to my little one of my 4-year-olds, because I teach pre-K, and he's like, I don't care. He was acting up. I don't care if they celebrate my birthday this year. I don't care. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? Oh, it's because they don't care anyway, because they forget my birthday. I'm like, how could they forget your birthday? You're 4 years old. You were born like the other day. I want to laugh. But then I'm like, look at this kid at 4 years old already already speaking his mind, saying that he's feeling invisible already. So any culture can feel that, and any culture can relate to that, to feeling invisible. And then I wanted to also celebrate the icons of this is Mariah Carey. A lot of people know who she is, but she has a dad that's from Venezuela and he's black. So it's good to have a picture of him and her and say, yeah, this is where she comes from. Where do you think she was from? Where do you think Mariah? Because and I would do the circling. Where do you think she's from? Is she from the United States? Yeah, she's from. Is she from the United States or is she from Africa? She's from the United States. Well, these are her parents. Where do you think the parents are from? And then we do all this circling until we say, okay, that they are. He is from Venezuela and he's black. So she's an Afro, she's an Afro descendant as well. And kids, they love that. They love to see that the people they love, they could connect with them. So I wanted to show you the resources link right here. If you could take a photo of it, or I can go ahead and try to get out of here. Uh-oh, that's the link right there. That's the whole page that you're gonna get, but I'm gonna put it in the chat. Where did I go? I just went the wrong way. Okay, I'm gonna put in the chat so in case you can't get the QR code, then you can get that. Okay. Oh, okay. I see the first question. Did you encourage the little one to feel better? I did. What I did is I told him, I'm so sorry they don't they're not gonna remember your birthday, but you know what? I'm gonna celebrate your birthday right now. So I got the hat and I put it on him and we recorded him. We did a little Snapchat video with what's that called? A filter, whatever filter he wanted, because it was his birthday and it's not his birthday. But I said, I'm gonna celebrate your birthday right now. And it was a quick thing that took 5 minutes out of my time, just to make a kid feel good. So I did that and I sent it to his mom and I said, hey, he accused you of never celebrating his birthday. So, and I'm laughing. He accused you of never celebrating his birthday. So, and then she wrote me back, he gets everything he wants. I was like, I figured that, but I had to make him feel special because he was acting up in my class. So yeah, so that's I love doing that with my kids. They're so easy to fix, to please. The bigger ones are the harder ones for me. Let's see. I'm gonna go back and see if there's Oh, yes, yes. You said hopefully the families will follow you. I do have one student that he's African American and and the mom told me if you go to this particular school, which I'm actually going, I can't say the name out loud here, but the school that I'm going to is a school where that's where I told you that was integration, the history of that school. Oof, lots of there's still to this day, there is a black prom queen and a white prom queen from the 70s, and they still get together like separately. When they have reunions, they're the black reunion and the white reunion. They don't do that anymore now, but this school still has that history. So I'm gonna be unpacking a lot of things that and I think it's kind of cool that I get to see this side of the school, this side of the culture of the city, and then now I'm going to the opposite end. So of course the school I'm going to is all black, all African American school now. But I'm excited about that. I'm ready to change the school, however I need to change it. So, but yeah, I do have kids that are gonna disenroll. They're gonna take them out and put them with me. So that was cool. I think that was special that they did that. All right. Okay, so someone said here, Kevin. Kevin, how are you? Aloha, Kevin.
Aloha, Jennifer.
¿Cómo está? How you doing?
Todo bien aquí. Estamos de vacaciones de primavera, así que
That's good. That's good, Kevin. Sorry, I get excited about people. I love people, so I get excited about people. So sorry to get off track. Okay, so sense is difficult too because if no veo ahora lo que dice ahí. If in South American countries, they're anything like the U.S. Census, they depend on people self-identifying or being identified as Black, Afro. You're right, you're right. And I remember seeing an article from Puerto Rico saying that they all identify as white. I don't know if you saw that. This was like 2 or 3 years ago, that they identify all as white because they want to get funding. I don't know how that works. I don't live there, so I have no understanding of it. But if you guys understand, you want to share, just let me know. So let's see. Oh, David, you put a link there. That's cool. I don't know what that link is, but it must be relevant. Black in Latin America. Yes, that is very informative. I watched one of those, and that's when I realized I was black. I didn't even know I was black because Dominicans, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you you're black. They just say you're Dominicana. But when everybody's calling you black, what are you going to say? Yeah, I am black. I guess you are. So that's when I learned that I was black. It was through Dr. Gates' videos. Okay, so Marsha, my favorite principal in the world. I wish I worked for her. I have used that same map about the slave trade with my son. Good. I'm glad I'm following your lead. I'm so glad. Yes, that is a good map. And also, I didn't tell you that I allowed the kids to draw their own map. Like they draw their map and they tell me in the target language how the people went. And that's how we can talk about north, south, east, west directions, how they feel, all that stuff we could use the maps for as well. So, let me see. We'll be sending a link for recording. Okay, that's David. Yes. I'm still working on my TPT site. So I will be putting more stuff on there about Afro-Latinos. I put a lot of stuff about African Americans lately, so for Black History Month, but I am gonna be putting that in soon. Okay, so how are you? Oh my gosh, you're a teacher from Panama. Nice to meet you, Indira. Oh, Indira, I know you. I know you already, girl. Nice to see you. Aida. Hello, Aida from Mexico City. I want to go visit Mexico City. Never been there before. Uniontown. Hola, ¿cómo está, Deborah? Hi, Susana. Hey, David. That's David again. Anybody has any questions? Any questions or any comments that you want to say about this conversation? Because I could go on and on. I had to cut it because it's a lot. But if you guys want to join my Facebook group incorporating Afro-Latino culture in Spanish classrooms, I would love to have you in there. And also my Facebook page is Afro-Latina Teacher. You can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, any of those. So you could be my friend and I'll really be your friend. Everybody that's my friend, they're really my friends. So no problem. Oh, you have a time lapse? Yes, that is awesome. Oh my gosh, I need to copy. Hey,
Oh, yes, that's a YouTube. It's a
por
YouTube
favor,
video.
can you share with me my private, like, because I
Yes,
can't go to it right now. It's gonna take me
yes.
off my page.
I'll
Please,
email it to you.
thank you. I appreciate it. I would
All
love
right.
to see that. I would
Yes,
love to
it's
see
great.
that. Yes. So I hope that you guys learned something from this. I hope you learned something, and please let me know. Miami Herald. Oh, that's where I'm from. I'm from Miami. Oh my gosh, that's great, Marsha. Please, can you send me that too? That's good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really. Oh yeah, Facebook info. Okay, so it's incorporating Afro-Latino culture in Spanish classrooms. Okay, that is my Facebook group. Okay, and then yes, 305. That's where I'm from. I'm from Miami. Graduate from Miami High. Hey Elizabeth, nice to meet you. So my Facebook page is Afro-Latina Teacher. Unless you want to be my real friend, my personal friend, oh, that's too much. I'm a little much. But then my real name is Jennifer White with 2 N's and 2 F's. If you want to be my real friend. Oh wait, no, that's not my full name. Sorry, it's Saldaña. Saldaña. Oh, it has a ñ. Okay, you know how to put the ñ. All right, so Jennifer Saldaña White is also my Facebook name, like my personal page. If you don't mind hearing all about my kids and all that stuff, then that's where I put all my personal stuff. So, but I'm hoping to see you guys again somewhere where we can collaborate together. All right, Terry, gracias. But if you have any questions, really, I'm here for a discussion. You want to talk about any other stuff, then I wanted to leave time for us to talk about it because it's sometimes difficult to share with our students.